Hong Kong spared direct hit by Typhoon Usagi. But the storm triggers death and destruction across the border. And Angela Merkel wins another term as German Chancellor. Good evening. Usagi has been blamed for the deaths of at least 25 people across the border as the typhoon wreaked havoc in southern China. For how Hong Kong was affected, we turn to Rani Samtani.
The observatory had warned that Usagi would be the strongest typhoon to hit Hong Kong in years. It was the second time the number 8 signal had been in effect this year, and winds were coming in from the northwest as the storm approached. Some of the worst weather was seen in Ma On Shan. Just making the way across open areas was a bit of a challenge. When Usagi was closest to Hong Kong at around midnight, there was a change in the wind direction. Local winds turned southwesterly, bringing torrential rain to most parts of the territory. At an industrial building in Chun Moon, a 50 by 5 meter metal structure collapsed onto parked vehicles. And a vehicle was trapped because of flooding in Lao Fao Shan. A couple had to be rescued by firefighters, but both people escaped unscathed. The observatory had also warned of unusually high tide. Low-lying areas in Lei Yu Moon were flooded because of rising sea levels. Huge waves lashed the shore, and efforts to protect properties there were largely in vain. In Tai O on Lantau, the water level was only half a meter below street level. Residents there were busy piling up sandbags. Authorities received 131 reports of fallen trees during the storm around town. In Chun Moon, a tree blocked part of the light rail transit tracks near the Melody Garden station. Services were suspended as a result. Over on Hong Kong Island, the rain seemed non-stop in Western District. And as the night progressed, Usagi gradually weakened and moved away from Hong Kong. The strong wind signal number 3 replaced the number 8 signal at 9:20 a.m. So it was a big rush back to work.
Many of them were hoping to beat the traffic and started queuing up at the bus stops here in Hong Kong more than an hour before the number 8 signal was dropped.
I think I don't have any trouble because I live around here, so I just get a minibus to here and then get a bus to Wan Chai. So it's okay.
No difficulty, it's okay. So I'm ready to go to work.
The hospital authority said 17 people sought treatment at the accident and emergency units of public hospitals for various storm-related injuries. The observatory canceled all typhoon signals before 10:30 a.m. A sense of relief, perhaps, that the super typhoon did not cause any more damage as first feared. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
Usagi also disrupted air traffic. About 500 flights were cancelled or delayed because of the storm. It was one long and frustrating night at the Hong Kong International Airport for these people. Bottles of water and a few blankets from the airlines were the only consolation for what seemed like endless hours of waiting.
Really, I am so tired about this. Tired from sitting also. Yeah, because I have my wife, she's pregnant and no place to take rest. Already she's in the floor. And until now, nothing nice to us, really.
We are supposed to be in the Philippines yesterday morning, but up to now, we are here.
Some of those stranded have been at the passenger terminal since yesterday morning. The waiting soon got the better of some of them. This group works for a company in Taiwan and was meant to be on their way home yesterday afternoon. They demanded answers from the airline on when they will be able to get back to work and how they'll be compensated. Flights gradually resumed from noon onwards.
A little bit surprised, yeah. Yes, we were waiting for 7 hours yesterday. We expected worse today, but actually it's quite fluid, and their check-in area is much more organized today. Yeah.
I was expecting a bit of delay, but everything seems to be on time. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with the outcome.
Cathay Pacific, for its part, says passengers without confirmed bookings or whose flights were cancelled should not go to the airport because the chance of securing a seat on standby is very low. But the airline is looking into operating additional flights and increasing capacity tomorrow to try to clear the backlog. Usagi made landfall in Shanwei last night and left a trail of death and destruction. The storm has claimed at least 25 lives in Guangdong province and affected more than 3.5 million people there. 13 are dead in Shanwei alone. Jenny Lam has that story.
Usagi swept past Shanwei last night with a vengeance. Wind speed exceeded 220 kilometers an hour, and that was a problem for local reporters. Strong winds lifted entire trees. Heavy rain caused severe flooding in parts of the city of Shanwei. Some vehicles were stranded, while others struggled to make their way through. Along the city in Leiwu, 10-meter-high waves swept the shores. Strong winds shattered the windows of a family that was sheltering at home. Shards of glass pierced the heart of one of the people there. He died. In Chaozhou, the levee broke in a number of places, sending huge waves into local villages. More than 1,000 people had to be evacuated. Usagi was closest to Guangzhou early this morning. People at Liwan have been busy piling up sandbags. Local government shelters stayed open overnight to help those in need. Usagi also caused chaos in land, sea and air traffic. Train services between Guangzhou and Beijing and high-speed trains between Shenzhen and Beijing were suspended. More than 400 flights at Shenzhen Airport were cancelled. Heavy rain will continue to lash the south over the next couple of days. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Turning overseas now, Chancellor Angela Merkel has led her Conservatives to a clear victory in Germany's parliamentary elections. The result not only consolidates her position domestically, but also ensures her status as Europe's most powerful leader. Tony Saban reports.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her supporters were all smiles as soon as it became clear her party had scored a decisive victory in federal elections for Germany's parliament. In a slight disappointment, her pro-business partners failed to make it into parliament despite riding on the Merkel ticket, falling short of the 5% of the vote needed to win seats. Which is why today, Merkel and top party officials met to talk strategy about reaching out to their centre-left rivals to form a government. Merkel's Christian Democratic Union bloc scored its best result in 23 years to put her on course for a third term as Germany's Chancellor. Her party won 41.5% of the vote and finished only 5 seats short of an absolute majority in the 630-member lower house. The Chancellor thanked supporters for their help. I would first of all like to thank the voters who have given the CDU such an outstanding amount of trust, said Merkel. I can promise the voters that we will act responsibly and carefully with it. Analysts say the result not only cements the Chancellor's position domestically, it also has implications in Europe, especially for those hit by the Eurozone crisis, who have come to resent Germany and Merkel's insistence on austerity.
There will be shockwaves sent to those countries in the south in particular that were hoping that a new coalition in Berlin might inject more of a social Europe, might inject more programs about investment and growth, and not only talking rules, which is at least what the perception is in many other parts of Europe.
Merkel looks likely to end up leading either a grand coalition government with the centre-left Social Democrats, a defeated challenger Pierre Steinbrück, reviving a previous alliance, or, less likely, with the environmentalist Greens. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
To Kenya now, where an unknown number of hostages are still being held by an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group in a shopping mall in Nairobi. The death toll has risen to 62, which includes 2 terrorists. And as Sonia Artero reports, gunfire erupted from inside the mall just moments ago. But more hostages were rescued in the latest round of fighting.
new video from inside the Westgate shopping mall shows that terrifying moment when gunmen burst into the mall and began shooting at anyone moving. Shoppers are seen fleeing for their lives or crouching and hiding as terrorists move from store to store, shooting at random people. On the heels of complaints the government is taking too long to overtake the terrorists, the president of Kenya called for calm.
Our multi-agency response unit has had to delicately balance the pressure to contain the criminals with the need to keep our people still held in the building safe.
But even today, bursts of gunfire and the sound of grenade blasts blared out of the mall. While Kenyan Defense Forces, or KDF, have taken control of most of the building, a military spokesman believes 10 attackers are still holed up in various areas of the mall.
They are in different parts of the building, but most areas of the building are now in the control of the KDF.
Helicopters patrolling the skies above signaled Kenyan authorities are strategizing how to neutralize the gunmen. U.S. President Barack Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry offered help and condemned the attack.
It represents the seriousness and the breadth of the challenge that we face with ruthless and completely reckless terrorists.
In an effort to show al-Qaeda and its affiliates are still very powerful, al-Shabaab